Good day folks, Sean here from Air Photography. So in today's video, I've got 11 tips for the brand new DJI Flip. These tips are helpful for those who are brand new to get up and running and familiarized with some of the functionality. Now, if you're completely brand new and you've never flown a drone before, I do have a beginner's guide for the Flip. We go over all the hardware and basic functionality of the drone to help you prepare for your very first flight. So I will put a link to that down in the description of this video as well. So for tip number one, it's how to enable and disable the auto powering on feature. With the DJI Flip, when you unfold it, it automatically powers on. And again, it will automatically power off when you fold it up.
Aircraft will power off in 5 seconds.
Now, if you're not a fan of that feature and you'd prefer to manually power it on and power it off yourself, we can go into the Fly app and disable that feature. Now, just as a side note, we're only able to adjust this setting when we're connected directly to a controller. There's no way to adjust that setting at the time of filming this video anyways, when connected directly to a smartphone. Now, to adjust that, we're going to go to our settings, and under the safety tab, we're going to scroll down near the bottom. And there we have two options: to power it on when it's unfolded and to power it off when it's folded back up. So you don't have to disable both of them. If you just want to manually power it on yourself, you can set it that way and still have it power off when folded up, or you can go ahead and disable both of them. Now for the second tip, it's to do with the front-facing 3D infrared sensing. You can disable that right within the Fly app when connected to a controller or to your smartphone. For the most part, it's a good idea to leave it on, but there are those times where it can be more of a hindrance. Sometimes some low-hanging branches, stuff that isn't really a problem, could cause the drone to hesitate or even stop. So when connected to a controller, we can go to our settings, and at the top here under safety, we can set it to brake. That way if it does encounter an obstacle, it will come to a complete stop, or we can turn it off. When we're connected to a smartphone, we have the same option. If we click on settings down at the bottom right hand side, down near the bottom there, we have an option called more settings. If we tap on that, you can see at the top here, we have the option for setting our obstacle avoidance. We can have brake on, so it'll come to a stop if it encounters an obstacle, or we can disable it altogether. So you can disable that feature both when you're connected to a controller or to your smartphone. Now for tip number 3, it's to do with the autonomous flying mode. The DJI Flip can fly all by itself without being connected to a phone or a controller. Just by using the button on the side, selecting the mode, it will perform the task and come back to you. But as a tip, before you head out, make sure you connect to your app first and make sure you have all the settings set accordingly, because the DJI Flip is only going to use the last stored settings. So if you're heading out flying and you know you're not going to be connected to a controller or the app, power it on before you go over to settings. For example, if we go to the following, you can set whether you want it close, medium, or far. You can have the follow height, low, flat, and high. So set it the way you want it, and that way when you put it up autonomously without connecting to the app, it's going to be recording the way you want. All these settings will be stored in there. You don't have to connect it. And you can go through each intelligent flight mode and set everything accordingly. Now, tip number 4 is about customizing the quick shots that are stored within the drone. By default, we can cycle through 6 quick shots simply by pressing the button on the side here.
Follow, droney, circle, rocket, spotlight, direction track.
That very last one can be customized. As you could hear there, I have mine set to direction track, which basically follows from the front, but you can customize that last option depending on what you want the drone to do. Again, to do that, we're going to connect the Flip to our smartphone, and we're going to go over to settings. Here it lists all the quick shots that are currently on the drone. This last one here is called custom, and as you can see there, I have it set to direction track, but we can click on that and we can adjust what we want it to do. We can select direction track, boomerang, or helix. So if you want that last one to be set at boomerang, you can do that as well. The DJI Flip is capable of capturing audio as you're flying. The software is going to automatically embed it into your video, and the software is going to remove any background noise such as the drone. This button here on the right hand side in the middle is how we can enable and disable that feature. It's going to use the phone's built-in microphones to capture audio, or you can connect an external microphone to your phone if you want better audio. But the first thing we need to do is enable that feature. So if we go over to settings and we select app recording, we can toggle that on and off. And then right below that, we get the option for natural and pure. Those are the two types of noise reduction you can choose. When you select natural, it's still going to preserve some of the ambient background noise. So for some situations, that may be what you choose. If we go to pure, that's basically only going to isolate human voice. Now with pure, it's going to be heavily processed, so it's not going to be ideal for every situation. So it's just a good idea to test them both out to see what you like best. Now for tip number 6, it's to do with the audio recording again. When you're using the DJI RCN3, this is the one that you have to mount a smartphone in, you can essentially do the same thing. Because again, it's going to use the microphones built into your smartphone. Unfortunately, that feature is not available if you're using the DJI RC2. You must be using the RCN3 and have a smartphone connected. And to enable that feature, again, we're just going to go to our settings. We're going to go over to camera. And then if we scroll down a little bit, you can see we have an option there for app recording. So we can enable and disable that feature. And again, we can select between natural and pure. And just like when we had the Flip connected directly to the smartphone, we can pair a Bluetooth audio device to the smartphone if we want even better audio. Now tip number 7 is to do with tracking. The DJI Flip is great for tracking, especially when using it autonomously. It's quick and easy to deploy, but you can also track while it's connected to a controller. When connected to a controller, you have full access to the DJI Focus Track, which is a tool that allows you to use active track, point of interest, and even spotlight. All you have to do is simply select your subject on the screen, and the drone is going to automatically start tracking it. Tip number 8 is to do with filming in vertical mode. The DJI Flip is capable of filming in vertical mode both when connected to a controller or if you have it connected directly to your smartphone. On a controller here, we can simply select our resolution. We can put it over to 2.7K, and then you can adjust your frame rate. The max resolution when filming in vertical is 2.7K. And again, when you have the Flip connected directly to a smartphone, we can still set it to a vertical format. What we're going to do is go over to settings. We're going to select video, and at the top there, we can set our aspect to 2.7 at 9:16. And again, as a reminder, if you do plan on flying the Flip without it being connected to your smartphone, you're going to be flying it autonomously, make sure you set that before you put the drone up, as it will remember that setting. Now tip number 9 is to do with flying the Flip while connected to a smartphone and using your smartphone as a virtual controller. You simply have to select manual at the top there. We can now launch the drone. When we launch the drone, we're going to have 2 virtual joysticks that we can use. As you notice there, the phone is in vertical, but if you prefer to fly it in a horizontal position, we can select this button here at the top on the right hand side. And as you can see there, it's now going to display everything in a horizontal position. That's going to give you a larger preview of what you're filming, and it might be a little easier for some people to control the drone. Now, tip number 10 is to do with frame rate. When flying the drone autonomously, the max resolution is 4K at 30 frames per second. You can see if I go to video here, we have it set to 4K, and it only gives us the option for 30 frames per second. However, if you want to film at 4K 60 frames per second, we can simply switch it to manual control. When we go to our video settings, you can see we can now set it up to 60 frames per second. And you can also film at 4K 60 when connected to a controller. Whether you're using the RC2 or the RCN3, you can go into your resolution and set 4K 60. Now the last tip is to do with transferring content. There's 3 different ways in which we can transfer content that we've captured and we have stored on the memory card. The first way is just to pull the memory card out, use a memory card reader, and you can plug it into a device or to a computer and pull all the files off. The second way to do it is by using the USB-C port. We can plug this directly into any device that supports USB-C, something like a tablet, a phone, or even your laptop. This will essentially become a drive, and we can pull the files off that way. The last method is by using the DJI Fly app to transfer the content over wirelessly. And to do so, all we do is click on Album. You can see that's going to give us a listing of everything stored on the memory card. We can simply select what we want to transfer, and then we just have to hit the download button. At any time, we can go up and cancel it. Another nice feature of using the DJI Fly app to transfer is it gives us the option of beauty effect, but it also allows us to do trim downloads. So for example, we've got this video here. If we bring it up, you can see it's a 2-minute video. When I click the download button, it's going to give me the option for full download or trim download. So I can put a beginning point and an end point, and that's the only section it's going to download. And for some people, if you have limited space on your device, that might be a good option. That way you're only downloading the parts of the clip that you want. Sometimes we might be filming something for 10 minutes, but there's only a few spots in there that we want. All 3 methods work quite well, so it just really depends on your needs and what your preferred method is. Well, folks, those are my 11 tips for the new DJI Flip. As mentioned, if you're brand new and you've never flown a drone before, I do have a full in-depth beginner's guide going over the hardware and basic functionality. I will include a link to that down in the description of this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and found it had value. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.